Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the July 23rd Lebanon City Council meeting. Our first order of business will be the Pledge of Allegiance.
Is that now right?
Yeah.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, now we'll move on to the roll call of members. Madam Clerk will call the roll.
Councilman Kincaid.
Present.
Councilman Campbell.
Here.
Councilman Coots, absent. Councilman Robertson.
Here.
Councilman Copeland.
Here.
Councilman Wheat.
Here.
Councilman Fleming.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we'll move on to the approval of minutes from our previous meeting. Any changes, amendments, or edits to our previous, to our minutes, excuse me? No? With that, would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I make a motion we approve the minutes.
We have a motion to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, minutes are approved. Want to do things a little out of order here. We have we've got a lot of business tonight, but we'll also have a request for a food and beverage request. So do I have consent from council to move the food and beverage request in front of all business? Consent? All right.
Yes.
All right, with that, we have a food and beverage request from Joy Kalar with the Boone County Cancer Society. If you wanted to step forward and talk about the request.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm Joy Kalar, and I'm the director of the Boone County Cancer Society, just down the street here. I am here to request some funding again this year for the Battle of the Barbecue coming up August 11th. Last year, you gave us some funds, and we used it for paper goods, the cost of meat, and I gave you a handout to talk a little bit about how many people we serve here in Lebanon and in the city. This year alone, I have given out $27,000 in assistance, and $18,000 of that has gone right to Lebanon residents. For the first time in my 7 years of being the executive director, I've helped 3 children in Lebanon under the age of 16, a first grader, freshman in high school, and a 7th grader. So the face of cancer is changing. These funds from the barbecue will stay right here in Lebanon to help our cancer patients. I don't get any government funding, grants, or anything like that. I get a very, very small amount of money from the United Way, maybe 5% of my budget. So my sole, I rely heavily on fundraisers. So, and I would love the opportunity to have some more money. I have your logo on the back of my shirt, and we have signs around. So that's it. Any questions?
Any questions for Joy?
No, I will say that Joy and Mrs. Flannery met with the Food and Beverage Committee on Thursday, July 19th. One of the things she didn't talk about was the Boone County Battle of the Barbecues will be August 11th, 2018. It goes from 5 to 7 p.m. This year it's going to be at Memorial Park again, but this year they're going to have music from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. That's something different. They're also going to have a 5K event at 8 a.m. the morning of the event. This is their 11th year of this program, raising funds for this for the Boone County Cancer Society. She said that last year they raised over approximately $30,000.
$34,000.
And they have no government funding. They're not affiliated with the American Cancer Society, so this is all on them. And a lot of footwork, a lot of talking, and a lot of meeting organizations such as ours. Last year's attendance was approximately 1,600 people. They charge about $10 a person to come in and participate in the event. So it's 40 plus vendors this year. 25 some odd churches from a local area will be participating for desserts and drinks. So it is a community atmosphere. It is a Lebanon atmosphere. We're getting all these people coming into Lebanon. They shouldn't be hungry afterwards, but just in case they are, I imagine they will make some donations to some of our restaurants under food and beverage to try to refurbish the money that hopefully we'll be donating this evening. So with that said, I would like to make a motion for $1,500 to be donated to the Boone County Battle of the Barbecue or the Boone County Cancer Society, however you feel fit it should be requested as.
The Boone County Cancer Society, please.
Yep.
So moved.
Okay, so it's always a great cause and always great to have you guys come, and hopefully we can always support you. So we do have a motion to approve a $1,500 appropriation from the Food and Beverage Fund to support the Boone County Cancer Society. We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, I hope not. Okay. Unanimously approved to a $1,500 grant request to the Boone County Cancer Society.
Thank you. Thank you.
Looking forward to the event.
And on a side note, I had a really good meeting with Kin Foods on Friday. They were super swell, and they were great community supporters. So,
With Ken's Foods.
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So is Sweet Baby Ray's going to be the official barbecue of the Boone County Cancer, or the Boone County?
I was almost in tears. Like they're having a barbecue team. They're going to sponsor. They are giving me 5 auction baskets. I mean, they're buying wristbands for all their employees. So they are really taking it to the next level. So I was super excited. So thank you for that.
That's great, and that's why we're trying to bring companies like Ken's.
Yeah.
So thank you very much, Joey.
I want to make a special comment that we have the founder of the barbecue down here with Kathy Flannery, who started it 11 years ago. So, and also was the senior volunteer of the year, Central Indiana. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you for all the work you guys do.
Joy, you know to send us in my office like a letter. Okay, thank you.
Great.
Just-
Thank you very much.
That's fine, thank you.
Okay. No, you're fine.
No.
Yep, you're good. That's why we did you first. So that you can, if you want to stay, feel free, but.
We didn't want to bore you any longer.
All right, now we'll move on to old business. The first item up, we were not able to address our last meeting, so it's been on the table. It's ordinance 2018-09, changes relating to the usage of golf carts within the city limits of Lebanon. Just to clarify, there were some technical changes we made. We did insert a definition of a golf cart, which we defined as a vehicle with 4 wheels substantially similar to vehicle originally designed for operation on a golf cart and powered by a battery or internal combustion engine. And then that subsequently then changed all of the section numbers, because we added that at first. And then also there was the feedback from Madam Clerk, changing the penalty phrase was amended to read, so the violator shall be fined $50 for the first violation. We took out the not to exceed kind of just language on that. So we clarified that's a $50 fine and then $100 for subsequent violations. So those were some technical changes we made to the ordinance, not substantive. Also, though, there was a amendment proposed by Councilman Coots, who's not here tonight, but he did want us to have a discussion about this. Currently, we limit golf carts on Lafayette Avenue and also on Indianapolis Road. So he proposed an amendment that golf cart traffic shall be prohibited on Indianapolis Avenue south of the entrance to the Boone County Fairgrounds and on Lafayette Avenue north of Witt Road in the city. So he's adding those qualifiers there, so it would allow golf cart usage north of the fairground entrance and then south of Witt Road. So that's amendment number 1. So at this point, I would like to have any discussion concerning amendment number 1, and then we can vote on that specifically. And then if that's adopted or rejected, we could discuss the ordinance as a whole.
On the amendment for the Indianapolis Avenue project, I would not support that. I just feel that the traffic coming off Interstate 65 going northbound, when they hit that exit, they're going 70 miles an hour, and then they're trying to slow their speed down by the church, by the 4-H grounds and things like that. I just think with slower moving vehicles such as golf carts would be a safety issue, and most of the people I've spoken with just don't seem to agree with that particular one. Lafayette Avenue, I didn't have a question or a problem with that one, but I do with the Indianapolis project. Indianapolis Avenue project.
Okay. Any further comments?
I would say that, you know, with the people coming off the interstate, that most of the golf carts will be headed towards the fairgrounds, isn't
Speak of the microphone, Dan.
it? Oh, sorry, we have a crowd tonight. So I was thinking that most golf carts will be headed towards the actual fairgrounds, not coming back from the interstate. So I think that might mitigate a little bit of that concern. But I still see the concern on it, John.
I think they have to go home.
Go home.
Well, depends which way to go.
Well, they would have to be on it no matter what. I mean, at least at the first roundabout at least at the second roundabout with Hendricks Drive.
I mean, if we moved it back to the roundabout, would that alleviate some of that concern?
But they still can't get to the fairgrounds then. I think the intention of the amendment is to let them get to the fairgrounds, but, so. Further discussion? We can obviously vote to amend amendment number 1 as well too, if we wanted to allow the Lafayette Avenue, or further discussions.
I'm just going to say I agree with Councilman Copeland. I think there's plenty of places folks can drive their golf carts. We put them on higher speed roads. Maybe something won't happen, or maybe it will, but that's a realistic, foreseeable consequence. So I kind of have a problem with the amendment.
Yep.
My thought would be is, and I hate to confuse the two, but I was curious about how big the trail is that goes out to the 4-H grounds. How wide is that trail?
10 feet.
Is it 10 feet? I'm just wondering, and I hate to confuse them. What I mean confusing is by thinking about allowing them to use that trail to get to there as opposed to the avenue. Would that still allow them to forget that you can't use that on the trail anywhere else other than to and from the 4-H grounds? You know, I don't want somebody driving from the park down the new trail with the golf cart to get to the 4-H grounds. You know, and I'm just thinking of, I can see why they might want to go there, and I think the only way to get them out there safely is get them off the street, because I can't support them driving up and down the avenue or Lafayette Avenue.
Well, I think the part of the reason why we're having this ordinance too is to clarify that they're not permitted on the trails. So I do think if we add in a caveat to allow them to use the trails to get to the fairgrounds, I think we're adding that confusion. That I would agree with you, Dick. I don't know if that's.
We don't want that confusion.
And at some point, if we just want to make the decision that you have to drive your car to the fairgrounds or walk on the trail, then that's the policy decision of the council, and that's fine. So I just, like I said, wanted to.
One or the other.
This is Councilman Coots' amendment. Just wanted to bring it forward and.
I understand people have the golf carts, they want to simplify, it's easy for them to drive, it saves on money. I understand that. But I'm looking at the safety issue, and when you're talking about the 4-H grounds, that's the busiest time of the year around that area. And you have, like I said, the vehicles coming off 65, but you also have all the vehicles on Indianapolis Road, or I'm sorry, Indianapolis Avenue, trying to get in and out of the fair with all the events that they have going on. I just, with the attention span and things like that, I just think it's, for a safety issue, I just can't go with that particular amendment.
So just to clarify here, the position of the council, do you have any concerns with the amendment to the Lafayette Avenue usage, or is it strictly just the Indianapolis Avenue usage?
Mine was strictly Indianapolis Avenue.
So the Lafayette Avenue proposal was from Witt Road south?
Yeah, they wouldn't be permitted north of Witt Road. So the people that were in that neighborhood could use Lafayette Avenue.
Well, it's still coming off of the interstate.
They're still coming, yeah.
Out near Witt Road,
And that's,
as
I think,
much as
probably-
we don't
that's
want to
probably
see
even worse
vehicles,
That's what I'm saying.
you do see people 70 miles an hour sometimes.
Exactly.
That's what I'm saying.
And even northbound, as they accelerate quicker, faster than they should, but they're still doing it.
Well, we have an amendment looking at that, or we have an ordinance later tonight.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that.
Right.
So. So at this point, is it fair just to have an up or down vote on amendment number 1 concerning ordinance 2018-09?
That'd be fair.
Okay. So let's do a motion to adopt amendment number 1, and if you don't agree with it, you would vote no on adoption of amendment number 1. So would anyone make the motion to, adopt amendment number 1 to ordinance 2018-09?
So moved.
We have a motion to adopt. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion and a second to adopt amendment number 1. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Okay, amendment number 1 is defeated. Mike and Dan voted for it. Everyone else was against.
Okay.
So amendment number 1 is defeated, so that will not be adopted. Okay, so now we'll go focus back on ordinance 2018-09, and I'll turn it over to Rob for...
Mayor, I got another
Yeah, sorry.
question. In the changes, we changed, I think, the seating requirements from 6 to 4,
Yes.
and I think that's ideal, but,
No, I thought it was 4 to 6.
It is.
Oh, sure, I'm sorry, 4
6?
to 6.
oh, okay, all right, never mind,
Sorry,
excuse me then. I thought it
apologize.
was the other way around.
Yeah, other way around, yeah, 6 to 4, excuse
Okay.
me. Answer your question then, Dick? You good?
I'm good.
Okay, we'll have, Rob, do you mind reading this ordinance on second reading again? And then we'll open this up for public comment as well.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, ordinance 2018-09, again, is pursuant to Indiana Code, the city, with respects to roads under jurisdiction of the city and in accordance with Indiana Code and within the reasonable exercise of the police power, may regulate golf carts. As we discussed, this council has determined that a need exists for the regulation of golf carts on roads under the jurisdiction of the city. And as of the effective date of this ordinance, Chapter 75 golf carts of the City Code of Ordinances shall be amended and replaced in accordance with Exhibit A. Those matters are set forth in Exhibit A. We also, as you indicated, Mayor, we have included the definition in 75.01 in the golf cart, and then had changed in addition, the penalty provision in 75.99.
Okay. Ordinance 2018-09 has been read on second reading. At this point, is there any public comment concerning this ordinance? Okay. No public comment. So further discussion from council on ordinance 2018-09?
Yes, did we actually define the golf cart?
We did.
Okay, can you read that again for me,
Yep.
please?
We define a golf cart as a vehicle with 4 wheels substantially similar to vehicle originally designed for operation on a golf course and powered by a battery or internal combustion engine.
Would this allow us to revoke any permits or issued anything that was not a golf cart?
Don't.
Well, I didn't know, maybe something may have got through, I don't know, that's why I was curious, like if an ATV or something somehow got a hold of a permit.
If they were issued a permit, we don't inspect them, right? We don't see the vehicle before a vehicle is permitted. So if there's a vehicle with a golf cart permit that's not a golf cart, or as we defined it as substantially similar to a vehicle originally designed for a golf course, then I think that would not be a valid permit. So we would probably have to revoke that at that time.
When you, yeah, let me see, so, read that definition one more time for me. I didn't see it on here.
A vehicle with 4 wheels, substantially similar to a vehicle originally designed for operation on a golf cart and powered by a battery or internal combustion engine.
Okay, all right, cool, we're good.
Okay.
One quick question or comment. I'm not one that owns a 3-wheeled golf cart, but there are some here in town that there are golf carts that are 3 wheels. They have a front wheel and then 2 in the back. And I don't know if they are licensed or if, Tanya, if anyone has come through, you wouldn't see that. You just know it's a golf cart.
Okay.
But some of the older ones back in the 60s and 70s, that is how they were made and put together. So would they be restricted if they had, say, an antique, historic type of golf cart to try and get a permit?
Is that a golf cart?
We've
or is
never
that
asked how
It
many
is a golf
wheels
cart.
it has.
Is that some other kind of vehicle?
Golf cart. Originally.
Okay.
So would you like to?
The reason I bring that up is that I've seen 2 or 3 in Lebanon area. I've seen one for sale out on 32 last year from one of our local businesses that was selling one, and it was 3 wheels. So
would you like to propose a change to the ordinance where we remove the number 4 from the definition?
I wouldn't worry about it.
If someone comes up, I don't want complaining that they have a three-wheeled golf cart and they're not able to get a permit.
It's council's decision if you guys want to amend the way the golf cart is currently defined.
I say just let it go. Play it by ear.
We can always,
Nobody's gonna go out and count wheels.
Yeah, but no, we might as well do it, because if we have an ordinance issue, we need to enforce that ordinance. We gotta have it defined correctly.
Yeah, can't we just put 3 or 4?
No.
Yeah, that's what I would
Or-
encourage.
okay.
Yeah,
okay,
just make that amendment.
yeah. So
Double-wheeled golf cart.
okay, so at this point, do we have a motion to amend ordinance 2018-09 to amend section 1? So it reads, a vehicle with 3 or 4 wheels, substantially similar to a vehicle originally designed for operation on a golf course.
I will so move that.
Okay, we have a
Second.
motion to amend and a second.
Yes.
All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, ordinance 2018-09 has now been amended. Any further discussion? Okay. At this point, I would entertain a motion concerning ordinance 2018-09 as amended. Motion to adopt or defeat? Motion to adopt as amended?
As amended.
We have a motion to adopt as amended ordinance 2018-09. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, ordinance 2018-09 has been adopted as amended. Thank you, council. And I know there's a lot of residents that will appreciate the clarification on that. All right, next item up is ordinance 2018-10. This is an ordinance of the Common Council, City of Lebanon, concerning the use of fireworks within the city limits, City of Lebanon corporate limits. I don't believe any substantial changes were made from the last reading. I believe we did remove the not to exceed language as well as requested by the clerk. So it clarifies that a first offense is $50, second offense $100, third $150, fourth $200, fifth $250, sixth and subsequent $300. So again, that's removed that language of the not to exceed qualifier on those fining provisions.
I think we can go that high.
Okay. Any further discussion from council on that?
Yes, sir.
Rob, can you read this on second reading, and then we'll open public comment as well?
Yes, thank you, Mayor, Council. Ordinance 2018-010, again, concerns the use of fireworks within the City of Lebanon corporate limits. This council finds that it is in the public interest of the city to provide certain regulations as to the appropriate use of consumer fireworks. As we discussed previously, Section 130.03 of the City Code shall be amended as follows in the ordinance, and there are several additions in there which allows consumer fireworks as defined by Indiana Code at various dates and times. Those are all set forth in sections A through N, which I had read essentially verbatim at the last meeting. Furthermore, it also, section 130.032 talks about the location and debris. I believe even the fire chief discussed the concern of what may happen if there is a discharge of fireworks on any public street or property, including who would be responsible for cleaning all that up. And then we have the special permits are in section 130.033, and the violations penalties in 130.034 as you discussed. And again, this ordinance shall be affected or shall be in full force and effect in accordance with Indiana law if adopted and published.
Okay. And just to clarify for everyone, the date, I know the times around the 4th of July are kind of the ones that people care about the most. This does allow fireworks between the hours of 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. or 2 hours after sunset, if in the event the sunset is after 9 p.m., on dates of July 27th through July 3rd, and then after the 4th of July from 5 to 9. Fireworks are then also permitted from 10 a.m. to midnight on July 4th. Okay. Any further discussion, comments, proposed changes to ordinance 2018-10 from the council?
No, sir.
Any public comment concerning the fireworks? Yes, please.
Just a quick question. Wasn't there a time frame for other holidays? New Year's, that type?
Yeah, I can run through
Not that
those.
I do that, but I mean, I thought there was an allowable time.
Yeah, we're trying to read through them again. I'll read through them real quick. So we allow between the hours of 12 a.m. and 1 a.m. on January 1st, so
Okay.
New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, early in the morning. 10 a.m. and 11 p.m. on the eve of the first day of the Chinese New Year, which is the day that varies annually between January 21st and February 20th. Between the hours of 12 a.m. and 11 p.m. on the first day of the Chinese New Year. And then between the hours of 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. on President's Day, 10 a.m. to 11 p.m. On which the Indianapolis 500 race is held, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. on Memorial Day. As I mentioned, the days around July 4th, which is June 20th through July 3rd, and then July 5th through 9th, 10 a.m. to 12 midnight on July 4th, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. 2 days prior to Labor Day weekend, or prior to Labor Day, so the Labor Day weekend. Hours of 5 p.m. 11 p.m. on Labor Day. Between the hours of 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. on the third day of Diwali, which is the date that varies annually between the end of October and early November. Between the hours of 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. on December 24th and 25th, so Christmas Eve and Christmas. And then between the hours of 10 a.m. and 11:59 on December 31st, which is New
I
Year's
was just
Eve.
curious about the New
Yep.
Year's. I thought maybe that had been eliminated.
Yep. No, those not been
The
eliminated.
other ones, I had no idea when Chinese.
Yep. Well, yeah, we're, if anyone was a fireworks aficionado, they could find those dates and enjoy themselves. So, any other questions, public comment concerning the ordinance? Okay. At this time, would entertain a motion concerning ordinance 2018-10.
So moved?
So moved to what? So moved to adopt?
Yeah, so moved to adopt.
We have a motion to adopt ordinance 2018-10. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Aye.
Okay. Ordinance 2018-10 has been adopted. All right, next item up on old business is the appropriation request for city prosecutor. At this point, we have some more meetings and conversations to have. Rob and I have been digging into this issue more. At this point, I'm not going to ask for this appropriation. We need to have some more meetings with the county on this before we actually request the appropriation on that. So that concludes what I have for old business. Any other old business from the council? Sure. Okay, with that, we'll move on to new business. The first item up is ordinance 2018-11, which is an ordinance of the Common City Council of the City of Lebanon concerning the amendment to Chapter 76, which is traffic schedules. So, Kevin, are you prepared to speak on this ordinance at all?
I'm happy to, unless City Attorney Shine would like an introduction here, but...
You can do it, Kevin.
So this is ordinance 2018-11. This is an ordinance concerning adding additional stop-controlled intersections, multi-way stop intersections. There are 3 intersections that we would like the council to consider. One is Tiger Way and East Street, turning that into a 4-way stop. The current condition is stops on Tiger Way, or the former Essex Drive. This would create a 4-way stop intersection at that location. The second location is Riley Road and Lafayette Avenue. Currently, there is a stop on Riley Road, and Lafayette Avenue is free-flowing through traffic. This would create a 3-way stop condition there. And the third location is Clear Vista Drive and Witt Avenue. This is near the location of Riley Road and Lafayette Avenue. This is in the Clear Vista subdivision. Witt Avenue is essentially the extension of Witt Road into the Clear Vista subdivision that will connect to the new Riley Road subdivision that is very shortly scheduled to begin construction. So Witt Avenue, as you go through Clear Vista, is it's a very straight, long section of street, and with the additional traffic created by the the Riley Ridge neighborhood, that has been a request from the Clear Vista Homeowners Association to turn that into a three-way stop condition in order to slow traffic down that might be moving through Clear Vista from the Riley Ridge neighborhood. There's a few things we look at when we're looking at justification for four-way stops. This comes back to the Federal Highway Manual of Uniform Traffic Control Devices. They have guidelines that would dictate when, or make recommendations as to when, a multi-way stop condition should be applied. I will say, kind of looking at these three things, the only one that would meet the strict requirements of the MUTCD would really be the Riley Road and Lafayette Avenue condition. There's a few criteria there that the Federal Highway looks at. One would be 5 or more crashes in a 12-month period. Neither of these three locations would necessarily fulfill that criteria. Then the one that's most commonly used would be if you took the total of approach vehicles going into the intersection in both of the in all of the primary corridors, and you achieved an average of at least 300 vehicles per hour for an 8-hour period on an average day, that would warrant a stop-controlled condition. There are other things like safety, limited visibility, pedestrian, bicycle, things that can also be considered, but primarily on the Riley Road and Lafayette Avenue intersection, that is the only one that really meets the traffic volume requirements. On Riley Road and Lafayette Avenue on both streets from about 6 a.m. to it would be 1 a.m. You have on average between, in all those hours, you have over 150 vehicles in each direction for each road. So it puts you over that average of 300 vehicles per hour for over an 8-hour period. So we can definitely warrant that stop condition per the MUTCD standards. Mind you that MUTCD standards also allow for just the local governmental entities or local city engineer to override these requirements. But I'll bring this up just to say that Riley Road and Lafayette Avenue is clearly a case where that would be warranted. Clear Vista Drive and Witt Avenue, we will have nowhere near that kind of a traffic volume, but this is to slow vehicles and to create a safe situation for a residential street. And there is some justification in the code when you have equally designed opposing through streets and neighborhoods that intersection could warrant a stop condition regardless of traffic volumes or safety associated with crashes. Tiger Way and East Street, again, doesn't meet the traffic volume requirements because there's really only a couple hours of the day that you would hit that 300 vehicles per hour. School hours in the morning after school, when school's in session, would be about the only time you would see that. But there is also consideration made in the MUTCD for pedestrian and bicycle traffic. And now we do have a pathway going down East Street that does cross at that or does go through that intersection. So I think we can justify that there. I don't think we have 5 crashes in a 12-month period on that intersection. But we hear a lot of reports from neighbors about a lot of near misses at that location. And those of us that have been in that area, especially in the mornings when school is getting ready to start and right after school, knows there's a lot of drivers going through that intersection. And driver expectation is sometimes that is a 4-way stop as you pull up to it. But as is today, you do not have to stop if you're on East Street. So on the basis of the inexperience of some of the drivers in that area and the driver expectation that it appears as a four-way stop as you pull up to the intersection, I would justify that as well as needing a four-way stop condition. Anything else I can add?
I have a question on stop signs.
Yeah.
What's the purpose of a stop sign? Is it to slow traffic down or to actually make them stop?
They would be required per code to come to a complete stop.
But it's not designed to be a mechanism to slow traffic down.
No.
That is not an engineering feat that you keep putting stop signs down the road to slow people down. What is the mechanism for that?
Well,
Road design.
If you're just trying to slow people down, you could do that with speed control. You can do it with traffic calming devices, curb turnouts,
Lane
speed
width.
bumps.
What about
things like-
yield signs?
I'm sorry, what's that?
What about yield signs?
Yield signs would be a way where you could require traffic to yield to oncoming traffic. There's a number of ways where you could try to slow traffic down. So the stop itself doesn't necessarily change the average speed,
No.
but would require someone to come to a full and complete stop at those intersections.
I'm assuming in the past, I know they did a study where people actually went out and they would count the vehicles, or they put a meter out there. Was that conducted on all three of these locations?
We have good counts, local counts on Riley Road and Lafayette Avenue that were done recently. We did some recent counts on East Street, but unfortunately, I wouldn't say those are really valid counts because of the amount of construction that's gone on in that area. Obviously, East Street has been under construction, but prior to that, we had Meridian Street under construction. Now we have downtown under construction, so that certainly changes the traffic pattern and would throw off the averages.
We do have a count, though, from before when Meridian Street was under construction during school times, because there's a couple factors there, too.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, we do have relatively good data on it, but it's maybe not as recent because it's not up to date when nothing's under construction during a school time.
I was just thinking that during school season, I can see the congestion there at Tiger Way and East Street, but when people, is that Hewlin Drive, when they pull off by the park, and you put that stop sign right there, would it back up back into that three streets right there? Or?
Yes, that is something to consider as you stop the traffic on East Street, that it could back up towards Hewlin. You've got a pretty good distance there that I think would more than accommodate the storage needed as cars go through that queue. I think the concern that I have is more of safety. What I've witnessed most often is that people that are stopped on Tiger Way, the former Essex Drive, are anticipating that the oncoming traffic is going to stop as well, and it doesn't. So that's where I've typically seen these near misses that I talk about, is people are assuming that oncoming traffic is going to stop, and it doesn't. It's not required to. I think the backups that you see in the mornings there are really traffic on Tiger Way going to the high school, and then in the afternoon coming from the high school. That is the main entrance into the high school parking lots. That is, at those certain times, those peak times, there's much more traffic on Tiger Way than there is on East Street. And I think that's, so.
I just see people coming from like Lebanon Street down over there to turn, and if they got caught at the stop sign,
Yeah.
that would cause maybe congestion more in that area because they have to stop. And if cars aren't moving because there's a three-way or four-way stop there, it might congest back into the main road there. So that was my only thought. But during this course of school would be the only time I would see that. When school's not in session, I don't see a problem with it.
Yeah, it's a valid concern, but I think what would also happen, it would allow the traffic that now currently queues onto Tiger Way, waiting for the oncoming traffic to get through, they would have more opportunities to take their turn and get across East Street. So you might see a little more congestion on East Street. I don't think it would be significant enough to back up onto Hewlin Drive, but what you would see is some of the congestion that you see on Tiger Way would be able to get across East Street because they would have more breaks in traffic.
Yeah, so I have a little bit of local intel here.
Sure.
So I see it every morning when school starts. If we do see backups in the area, it's not East Street, it's actually would be backing up on Tiger Way, because if you have cars coming down East Street, they're already stopped on Tiger Way. And then so you have the backup towards Meridian, which is as they come down Camp Street. So there aren't really a lot of cars that come down Ulen or coming down East Street towards Tiger Way. They're coming from 39, kind of around Meridian, and then they back up that way. So actually the stop sign helps them go, because if East Street stops, then it's kind of
There seems to be two primary entries into the high school, and that is Tiger Way, and then that is North Outer Drive. So that seems to be where most of the traffic enters the high school parking lots. And Mayor's right. That's what I'd see is a concern of the traffic that backs up on Tiger Way. We have a short block till you get to Meridian Street, and there's kind of an awkward situation that happens with people turning off of Camp and then immediately turning left onto Tiger Way. And I'm more concerned with the traffic backing up onto Tiger Way that then would possibly get into the intersection of Meridian, and you've got a lot of vehicles making these quick right, then left again turns to get onto Tiger Way. I'd rather see them have an opportunity to cross Tiger Way because the to cross East Street because the East Street traffic is now stopping and allowing those back and forth maneuvers to happen.
In my experience, I would agree. I've covered many, many accidents there over the years, and the interesting thing in that particular location, usually it's an inexperienced driver going to school or coming from school and misjudging the cross traffic. So I think you've raised the only real concern is going to be that backup going to Meridian, but hopefully that won't be that severe. But I felt like we've needed a stop sign there for years and years.
Well, and the northernmost stop sign between Ulen and really there's no stop signs between there and Fordyce.
Yeah.
So there's no car stop. I mean, as soon as you get north of Fordyce, you're straight to the Armory. So there are the study we had on there was a bit of a speed issue too on East because there are no broken up stops.
Yeah. I think the average is somewhere in the 40-mile-an-hour range of cars traveling on East Street because they have a pretty long run from Fordyce to pick up speed. So, and now that with the road being widened, I think you'd probably see an increase in that speed.
Right.
Any further questions for Kevin?
I just got one comment. I drove through all the intersections today and this afternoon. My only concern about East Street is where we're going to put the stop signs because we've got a couple trees up close there. Yeah. Either they're going to have to be moved and replanted somewhere else. I hate to cut those down because we got put a sign up, but it's going to be awful hard to get a sign around those trees right now because they're going to all be about the same height. But I don't disagree with this East Street really. It's inconvenient to us old people that have grew up that way forever. Okay, but I do understand. I've been through times when kids are going to school and with the trail there and the more activity with people that we hope can use the trail to get to school as well. Could be more problems. I see what the mayor's talking about. I understand what he's talking about, the backup on Tiger Lane up towards Meridian. That's a big problem, could be a bigger problem. And I'm like Brent, that with all these younger drivers going around school, we've all been through that growing up somewhere and thinking about that. Riley Road, I lived in Riley Road area for several years. I just came out of there just this past weekend or so and trying to go, I was on Riley Road trying to go left on the Lafayette Avenue, and one you can't see, there's a bush, you got a house right there in the corner. Yeah, it'd probably be ideal when that thing backs up at rush hour, especially people coming home and that sort of thing. I've seen it get real busy before, and people trying to wait to turn left and can't turn left on a Riley Road with traffic coming in. My other question is, there's I forget his name, but there's a fellow there that pulls his truck off the road there, has been parking there for 30 years, and I don't think we're going to tell him he can't, but it's going to be a really touchy situation for Larry to put a stop sign right there and try to keep it, as long as we can. The other one down at Clear Vista, I don't know if that's really warranted that much, but what do we got? 150, 200 homes going to the back of that thing in the future?
There's 85,
85?
so the trip generation manual, another manual that comes out from FHWA, would probably say your peak in the morning would be about 1 trip per house. There's 2 entrances into Riley Ridge, so
Yeah.
you can probably assume there's going to be 40, 45 additional cars on Witt Avenue in the morning.
I don't go that way in the morning. I go a different way.
Yeah.
But
That request is coming from the it's coming from the homeowners association, though.
Yeah.
It's coming from the homeowners association.
It was a request from
Yeah,
the homeowners
yeah.
association. Again,
Yeah, I could probably see it coming from them because I've been there when the intersection is loaded up with people coming off Wood Road and a few trying to get out and traffic going both directions. And they're, like Brent said, they're not slowing down.
Well, it's not at Witt Road though in Lafayette. It's back in the neighborhood.
it's in the neighborhood.
Oh, it's in the neighborhood?
Yeah,
in
it's
the
not.
neighborhood.
It's not.
Oh, I'm
under
sorry. I
Avenue.
thought it was
Yeah,
out there
it
on
is.
the avenue.
It is Witt Avenue and Clear Vista Drive, which
So it's
is
the end
yeah.
Clear Vista.
Witt Avenue would be if you come off of Witt Road
Yeah.
and you were to drive straight across Lafayette Avenue, you are now on Witt Avenue.
Oh, okay.
And so it's the second intersection into the neighborhood.
Oh, well,
That is,
okay.
again, yeah, it was a request of the homeowners association. I would not support stopping the Witt
Okay.
Road traffic.
Okay.
I think that's fine. And again, the Witt Avenue, Clear Vista Drive intersection, I couldn't justify it with any engineering analysis as warranted. It's a request of the owners association.
Okay.
They've organized, they've came to us as a body and have requested that, and we can support it based on that.
Okay.
Whose district is that?
Corey's.
Has Corey reached out to those guys yet?
No, it's mine.
Yeah, Corey's in favor of it.
That's in your district? District 2?
Corey's district.
No,
That
it's
was
in my
District
district.
4.
Up that far?
Clear Vista's mine.
Is
Wow.
Really?
You guys don't realize how many miles I have.
Well, I wasn't here when you guys drew the maps, so I can't speak to that.
You just
Okay.
don't get it.
I thought Corey goes up that.
No.
Hey, that's the only one I have concern with. I mean, I'm still feeling the pain of the Anderson Lane and Elm Swamp stop sign, but that's just me, right? Because I got to take it every day.
Yeah.
But that's the only one I have a little issue with. I'm like, I don't understand that stop sign placement over there.
Which one, in the neighborhood or?
Yeah, in the neighborhood.
Again, that was coming right from the homeowners association. I think part of the problem we have is that when the neighborhood is built, they built very, how wide's the road there?
That road is, I believe, it's sort of extra wide. If I remember right, it's 36 feet wide.
Yeah, so it's kind of a runway a little bit. So unfortunately, I think, again, we talk about design informing behavior on roads. And so I think we have a really wide road there that's a straight shot. And I think people tend to
Put a speed bump in there?
Larry doesn't like speed bumps, so.
Larry will be fine. He'll figure it out.
Speed bumps are more challenging than stop signs, so.
Makes snow plowing real interesting.
Yes, it
Yeah.
does.
Yeah, as I said, again, not warranted from engineering justification, but
Yeah.
the neighborhood has asked for it. If we were talking about this 10 years ago when the neighborhood was built, we wouldn't have questioned the developer's request to make it a four-way stop. Yeah, so at this point, I don't see a problem with it, so.
Okay, answers my question.
Okay. Any further discussion, questions for Kevin? Any public comment? Please.
Through my employment with the Senior Citizen Center, I transport through the Riley Road, Lafayette Avenue, and Witt Road pretty on a daily basis. And it starts as early as before 6 and ends around 4. When you're leaving Riley Road to normally turn north onto Lafayette Avenue, you can't always anticipate that everybody's going to turn. Some people use signals, some people don't. From the south, on Lafayette Avenue, you don't know what they're going to do, and they have sped up now at a much faster rate than, I believe it's probably 30. So that's probably a idea that I would say a stop sign might be warranted. The Witt Road and Lafayette Avenue, it is difficult because people are coming around that curve off of Witt Road, and it's a short distance from the stop sign they're on now to on Witt Road. And then again, people are exiting towards Christ Apartments and the interstate at a much higher rate of speed than the road warrants. I have had many close calls in both the small vans and the large buses at both those intersections. To the point, if I could go a different way, if you would take the oval bridge out of Camp Street and I could drive my bus through there, I would. But a square bus won't go through that round bridge. Trust me.
Fortunately, that's a railroad bridge. So
Yeah, that's a railroad problem. But I mean, if you would fix that, it wouldn't still stop the stop signs, but it would give me another opportunity to go a distance that I can't go now. So those two intersections, I have had many times close calls because you just can't always anticipate a driver going to turn. They either don't put their turn signal on or they turn at the last minute and you're out in the middle there. And yes, the gentleman with the tanker truck is right across the street from there. So that, I don't know what's in that tanker truck. I don't want to know if there's ever an accident there. So I would think that those two would possibly warrant a stop sign.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Chuck, you want to say anything? No? Okay. At this time, Rob, you want to read the ordinance on first reading, and then we'll we'll vote at our next council meeting.
Yep. Mayor, council, ordinance 2018-11 concerns amendment to chapter 76 of the traffic schedules. This common council of the city has jurisdiction over public thoroughfares and streets within the corporate boundaries of the city. And it states that this council believes it's in the best interest of the public's health, safety, and welfare to amend chapter 76 traffic schedules. As Mr. Krulik indicated, chapter 76 schedule 5 stop intersections of the city code would be amended to include A, Tiger Way and East Street, a 4-way stop. B, Riley Road and Lafayette Avenue, a 3-way stop. C, Clear Vista Drive and Witt Avenue, a 3-way stop. The remaining portions of Chapter 76 of the City Code would not be affected by this ordinance.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Any further discussion? Okay, ordinance 2018-11 has been read on first reading. Okay, next item up, and I know council, you guys got this later in the day today, but this is so we can have a discussion about whether or not we read this tonight or not. But this is just an ordinance establishing a capital asset policy. Really, this is coming out of our capital asset plan that we approved last year. Tanya, if you wanted to, I mean, do you want to, because it's coming from the guy that did it, right?
Right. Keyser Consulting is working on our capital asset plan. We put it in the budget this year for $25,000, and this is just the ordinance that would support that capital asset plan from here on out. So this is something he sent to us. I sent it to our attorney. They've used it for every city and town that they've done business with. So it's just sort of a standard model. Rob's office looked over it, and I think we're...
Yeah, it's a fairly boilerplate ordinance. Really, all it does is it just sets the internal policy for the city that we actually start, and we constantly look at this thing, right? Keep track of it. Again, I understand if the council is not comfortable hearing it on first reading, because you guys, we got it later today. But it's a fairly boilerplate type ordinance. It just details how we keep track of city property and city assets from a management perspective. So, will the council to hear this or wait, or like I said, if you read through it, it's pretty thrilling stuff. But Your decision.
I spoke with Tanya earlier. I'm comfortable now after speaking with Tanya in her office that they're okay with it, things like that. It's going to address her office more than anyone. It's going to benefit your office, is that correct?
Yes.
And you're comfortable with it?
Yeah.
And there is no reason to.
It's something we have to do.
Exactly.
We have to do it.
And there's no reason to adopt it tonight, so we don't necessarily need to move to second reading. So you still will have time to read it, prepare for it, ask questions at our next meeting. We can amend it as needed, so. Okay. Well, Rob, then, I guess we'll have you read this ordinance on first reading.
Yep. Thank you, Mayor. Council, ordinance 2018-12 again establishes a capital asset policy, and the council and the mayor have been advised by the Indiana State Board of Accounts of the necessity of creating such policy. And essentially, this 9-page, very detailed ordinance really goes through, as the mayor and the clerk treasurer indicated, just an outline of what's necessary to be performed in benchmarks. So essentially, Section 1 talks about the general information, and it requires that the capital asset threshold will be $5,000, and with an asset with the value under $5,000 will be expensed in the year of the purchase. And it goes through great detail, talking about the purpose of establishing the policy. Section 2 talks about the definition of the capital assets, such as land improvements, monuments, buildings, construction in progress, machinery and equipment, vehicles, and again, all items with a useful life of more than 1 year and having a unit cost of $5,000 or more shall be capitalized. If you think of it, it's essentially just a complete inventory of the city. Section 3, again, talks about various levels of threshold for capital assets, including what we talked about a minute ago, land improvements, land, building improvements, construction, in progress, equipment, vehicles, city stormwater, utility assets. Section 4 gets a little bit more detailed into the accounting aspects of it, of the valuation of capital assets, and it goes through what costs should be included and what shouldn't be. Section 5 talks about asset definitions by major categories. Again, a little bit more of an elaboration on those categories of land, improvements, buildings, equipment, infrastructure. Section 6 is a little bit more of a accounting aspect dealing with depreciation methods, and it sets forth the breakdown and suggestions in that on those categories, including straight line depreciation, and it has several categories in there detailing, again, vehicles, armored vehicles, office equipment, heavy equipment, fire trucks, buildings, leasehold improvements, and other categories in there, including computer software, hardware. Section 7 talks about capital asset acquisitions, the methods of it, and that each department of the city should report the items that are acquired by. Again, it gives you categories of regular purchases, lease purchases, construction by city personnel, outside contractors, donations, transfer, trade, annexation, and it goes on a little bit more detail in that regard. Section 8 talks about asset transfers and dispositions. Section 9 addresses periodic inventories of all capital assets. Any item over $5,000 will be conducted in each department on or about December 31st of each year, and that the city clerk treasurer's office will conduct spot checks on a random basis of each department. The department heads will be accountable for the capital asset inventory charged by their departments, verifying a list of their capital assets at year end. And again, Section 10 talks about responsibilities of the clerk treasurer's office. Section 11 talks about the responsibilities of the department heads. And that's essentially the detail. It's pretty lengthy in here.
As I said, very exciting stuff. So ordinance 2018-13 12 has been read on first reading. Any further discussion at this point?
I just had a question.
Yeah.
On Section 1, General Information, where it says effective date of January 1st, 2007, was that when it was written, or is that when the city will take control of this particular ordinance? I'm just curious on that particular date, 2000.
That's a good question. I'm wondering if this is,
I believe that's when
It was initiated by,
DLGF,
when they did the
Okay.
boilerplate type of?
I think that's when DLGF started requiring us to include infrastructure
Okay.
as part of our,
So
because
that's what the date's for?
I believe so, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
I will check.
thank you.
Yeah, but
appreciate
I
it.
believe that's when they set that in policy, so. Yeah, this has been something we've been having on our to-do list for quite
Since I've been
some
here.
time.
Yeah.
So,
11 years?
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
7 for me.
again, something we've needed to do, so. Any further questions? Any public comment? Again, this is just the city attempting to keep track of everything and making sure we manage those items appropriately.
And if we can just get the federal government to do it.
Exactly.
They want us to do it, but they're not ready to do it themselves.
Well, it's the state government telling us, not the feds, but, all right, so ordinance 2018-12 has been read on first reading. Is there any other new business come before the council? Okay, at this time, I would entertain a motion concerning the claims.
I have one question
Oh,
on the
yep,
claims.
sorry.
And I think I know the answer to this, but I just want to double check because we're talking $8,400. We've got two appropriations for CSI van equipment. They're the same amount. Looks like they're coming out of different funds. I assume that's because we split it and it's not a double bill.
That may
Okay.
be a question for Chief Wormuth.
The money for the CSI van equipment, whatever it was, it's split into lit and I think Coit or something. Were they just splitting the money there and the total bill was $8,400, or did we somehow get double billed for $4,200? Okay. I just wanted to make sure that that wasn't an oversight because that's significant money.
I believe it's just a split bill, but
I assumed it was, but gotta ask.
he's probably splitting it between his two vehicle, or not vehicle lines, but the equipment lines.
Right.
Yep, so. Okay, any other questions concerning the claims? No, sir. Okay, we'll entertain a motion concerning the claims.
So do we hold off on those two?
No, I think they were okay, I think, weren't they?
Yeah, I think it's probably just splitting the funds.
Okay.
I think so.
Make a motion to approve the claims.
We have a motion to approve the claims. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, claims are approved, and we'll Whoa. I was going to ask if there are any announcements or from anyone, or would entertain a motion to adjourn. We have a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are adjourned. Our next meeting will be August 9th, 13th at 7:15. Thanks for watching.